Taking a quick glimpse into the sublime meaning gives us a very diluted meaning. The dictionary definition states the sublime, of such excellence, grandeur, or beauty as to inspire great admiration or awe. The Wikipedia definition: in aesthetics, the sublime, from the Latin sublimus, is the quality of greatness, whether physical, moral, intellectual, metaphysical, aesthetic, spiritual, or artistic. The term especially refers to a greatness beyond all possibility of calculation, measurement, or imitation. Before researching the sublime, I was unaware of the richness this philosophy offered throughout history, where art, science, and nature collide. My journey started by being introduced to the philosopher Edmund Burke's theory of the sublime in a book I was reading called The Nature Fix by Florence Williams. He states the sublime is an aesthetic experience that is both beautiful and terrifying, and he outlines certain qualities that define a sublime experience within nature and architecture. The vastness of space, an ever-expanding universe. The worlds that cannot be seen by the human eye. The deep depths of the ocean, obscured from light, and an unexplored place of mystery. The succession and uniformity of an ornate building that challenges our perception of how it was constructed. Something man-made that is seemingly so difficult to build that it asks us to question its origins as well as our own existence. Magnificence, found in nature, can astound us, a mountain range of steep snowy peaks, a terrifying and dangerous journey that so many of us are compelled to accomplish. A dark, stormy night, a hurricane, a tornado, a storm at sea, something destructive and powered by unknown forces, watched from the safety of our homes. Loud, sudden noises, cracks of thunder, a boom of a bomb, a howl of a wolf, a sudden eruption of a volcano, the breaking of a dam, a flood, a tidal wave, the destruction of the Twin Towers, all these things can be a sublime experience. However, how we experience something is subjective, and an aesthetic experience is viewed differently for each individual. Immanuel Kant, a philosopher, wrote about the sublime and claimed the sublime is less about the aesthetic definitions, but is more centred around human experience. The sublime questions our imagination and ability to reason and moves us beyond the self, connecting us to the spiritual world. Transcendence, existence or experience beyond the normal or physical level. Romanticism was an artistic, literary, musical and intellectual movement that was inspired by the sublime. It originated in Europe towards the end of the 18th century. It was characterised by its representation of emotions and individualism, a glorification of nature and a reaction to the Industrial Revolution. Artists depicted a sublime experience through painting and poetry, with scenes and prose of misty mountains, leafless trees, angels, spirituality and storms at sea. The works didn't necessarily aim to invoke a sublime experience, instead they represented one. William Blake, The Angel. I dreamt a dream, what can it mean? And that I was a maiden queen, guarded by an angel mild. Witless woe was near begilded, and I wept both night and day, and he wiped my tears away. And I wept both day and night, and he hid me from my heart's delight. So he took his wings and fled. Then the morn blushed rosy red. I dried my tears and armed my fears with 10,000 shields and spears. Soon my angel came again. I was armed, he came in vain, for the time of youth was fled, and grey hairs were on my head. I wandered lonely as a cloud that floats on high o'er vales and hills, when all at once I saw a crowd, a host of golden daffodils, beside the lake, beneath the trees, fluttering and dancing in the breeze. Continuous as the stars that shine and twinkle on the Milky Way, they stretched in never-ending line along the margin of a bay. 10,000 saw I at a glance, tossing their heads in sprightly dance. The waves beside them danced, but they outdid the sparkling waves in glee. A poet could not but be gay in such a jocund company. I gazed and gazed, but little thought what wealth the show to me had brought. For oft when on my couch I lie, in vacant or in pensive mood, they flash upon that inward eye, which is the bliss of solitude, and then my heart with pleasure fills, and dances with the daffodils. Charles Darwin was believed to be inspired by the Romantic artists of the time. His theory of evolution is widely accepted today. However, at the time it was published, it caused a great amount of controversy. It dismantled religious beliefs and raised questions of humanity's existence. It was a theory that I believe would have induced a sublime experience in the population of the time. He influenced artists in many ways, some of which helped to catalogue and illustrate his works, and others who responded to the controversial feelings that it created. For me, this is an interesting art and science intersection. I believe the artist's work that is responding to Darwin's scientific discoveries contains emotions triggered by a sublime experience. It demonstrates the inspiring qualities of the sublime. Unlike the Romantics, who are purposefully exploring the sublime, artists have responded to scientific discoveries that have created the same feelings, and these images don't necessarily contain the sublime aesthetic seen in the Romantic movement. Another artistic response to a scientific theory I find interesting is Albert Einstein's theory of relativity. His theory was a radical shift in how we perceived space and time, and influenced abstract artists who were inspired to connect macrocosms and microcosms and oneness of spirit. It also influenced the resurgence of a unification with nature and panpsychism, a theory that the entire universe is conscious. Artists adopted aesthetics that for them visually explored these theories. Lines and organic spherical shapes featured in artworks as artists responded by connecting forms in nature. This example resonated with my own beliefs about my connection to nature, the universe, and a unified soul. The artist's visual language also correlates to my own that I have developed through my explorations of nature and an embodied experience of the landscape. Fractals are patterns found in nature and are defined by infinite intricacy, zoom symmetry, complexity from simplicity, and fractional dimensions. They are self-similar across different scales and dynamic systems and represent chaos pictorially. To me, fractals connect different living systems. From our own bodies, water networks, magnetic forces and trees, they encompass a sublime aesthetic as they are infinite and seen across different scales. I'm not sure of the terror bestowed by looking at fractals, and it has been researched into having a calming effect due to the familiarity of them, especially in nature. However, seeing fractal patterns across different scales from the planets to plants does inspire a questioning of our existence and connection with the universe. This is something I've heard people talking about, as well as having this response myself. I'm interested in including fractal patterns in my work, and this is why I've included them within my video. I've chosen examples of the sublime in modern art, a therapeutic VR experience, and an art and science collaborative project. These specifically relate to my own work in some way, and I hope the cases will inform and inspire the development of my practice. Transcendence was a group exhibition that explored the ideas of transcendence. The term transcendental was coined by Immanuel Kant, describing conditions of possibility of knowledge. Transcendent meaning that which goes beyond any possible knowledge of human being. Mainstream contemporary art theory maintains that contemporary art does not seek to express transcendent reality. Flux Events Transcendence challenged this conception, showing a widespread interest in contemporary media art to reach beyond the known for art, installation and performances that elevate transcending knowledge, experience that escape our vocabulary, our traditional senses aiming for the margins of consciousness. I chose to look at this body of work because the transcendent nature of the sublime is an important element I would like to capture in my own work. These artists have explored the idea of transcendence and not the sublime, and it is an interesting example of how transcendence can be creatively developed. Natural Wonders, a Sublime in Contemporary Art, was an exhibition at the Brandywine River Museum. It displays the work of 13 major American artists who engage in nature in all its fierce magnificence. As such, the work in this exhibition can be viewed as a type of neo-sublime, mixing the beautiful and terrifying to produce awe in the beholder in accord with tenets of 18th century philosopher Edmund Burke, and not unlike 18th century sublime landscapes of the Hudson River School of the Romantic era. These recent works conjure the raw power and ruthlessness of nature along with the harmonious effects, a state at once captivating and unsettling. The VR Overview Effect is a project founded by Dr. Anita Nizami. The project aims to deliver VR experiences from the viewpoint of astronauts in space. The fully immersive experience combines music, meditation, and three-dimensional visuals of Earth. The project was started to bring the therapeutic qualities that astronauts felt when Earth-gazing to the general public. January 2018, consisting of a group of artists and scientists promoting citizen science projects along the Pank River in north and central Berlin. I asked people to describe a sublime experience they had had and share a photo if they had one. This included skydiving, climbing mountains, losing loved ones, endurance exercise, public speeches, conquering fears and giving birth. A few quotes from my research. During the event, I felt every emotion under the sun. Excitement, hope, nerves, fear, adrenaline and exhaustion. I felt that I let go of his hand, who was being folded into the arms of Jesus, and to me that was and still is a sublime beauty. I eventually opened my eyes and settled down. The feeling of gliding from the air was immense. You could see for miles, a feeling hard to explain. I was still scared, but now I was feeling a bit proud and exhilarated. There was still a mixture of emotions, sick to my stomach as we were going so fast, but amazed with the view and how the air was in the clouds. When the parachute opened, I relaxed a bit, soaring safely. Now the chute was open and in complete awe of the view. It was terrifying and amazing. After I was home safe, I felt rejuvenated and reflected on my journey. I felt a connection to a purer sense of purpose and meaning. After researching the sublime, I realised my work needs an element of terror, as I feel the feeling of the sublime helps to have a greater impact on viewers and gets them to question their own relationship with the world. In my sculpture, it represents the terror of human impact on nature and that impact on humans. I want to create an immersive video and sound installation that explores the feelings of the sublime. I have an idea for a performance. A terrified person is running through the night lost in the hills. They are panicked and their breath is laboured. They have no torch and cannot see which way to go. They enter a field and all of a sudden these colourful shapes start to glow around them. As they move, more lights are activated until a path is clear and 100 or more lights are glowing around this now delighted person. There are three currents that flow. Instincts act as guidance. Experience steers my decisions. Connection lights up my path. They all work together to make me, me. I don't feel like an individual. I feel like a thread. One strand of a rope. A mass of threads interweaved, creating strength and unity. I tread over mud, rock and land, swim in rivers, lakes and oceans. I feel a connection to a diverse mass full of life and all that belongs here. I stare longingly into darkness, black, pierced with light. I feel a connection to stars beyond my reach and the space in between. I keep acceptance close to my heart, embracing the chaos around me and fluctuating emotions, facing challenges with connections, life with hope.